Hello, everybody. It's January and it's Friday the 8th, and I'm here with you. And as I said, I will be having Christmas pudding. Here, this is Christmas pudding a la mode. Okay, now, for those who are not from this country, and I know there are some people watching from Wales and even one from Italy, they don't know what a la mode is. But a la mode is where you put ice cream with anything, right? So we're having Christmas pudding a la mode. So I've Americanized the dish because normally or traditionally at Christmas, as you know, or some would know, we either have this with with brandy butter or rum sauce, or just plain double cream, or even custard. And as I don't have easy access to any of those things, but I do have easy access to ice cream, vanilla ice cream, I thought I'd give it a whirl. And so anyway, the Christmas pudding, which is kind of like a dense, kind of like fruit-filled, dried fruit-filled kind of concoction, it goes well with the ice cream because it cuts down. Because the Christmas pudding is quite intense, and quite sweet. So you need something with it just to cut it a bit. So anyway, I've got this, as I showed you last week, courtesy of Tom Connolly, and so thank you. And I do like Christmas pudding a lot at any time of the year. And I know that Christmas pudding, which was given to me, will last until June 2022. That's what it says on the label, So I'm set. So there you go. This is Christmas pudding, and I've even got given Maria, who's filming this, a little piece, and she seems to be eating it with no real difficulty. So it's quite good, actually. It's quite good. Anyway, I will put it down in a minute and start talking to you, but I'll just have one more mouthful because this is like my second breakfast. Well, third breakfast, maybe. Anyway, it's January the 8th. And part of my reason of having Christmas pudding today is to just touch on the point that, is it still Christmas? And according to the church's cycle, the cycle which we follow, the calendar which we follow, it is still Christmas. Some people finish Christmas with the Epiphany, and they stick strictly to the 6th of January. Some people stop earlier. And traditionally, pre-Vatican II, and this is a question you can ask Father George Kane, before the council, Christmas really went on right up to February the 2nd, when they had the feast of what they called the Purification, or Candlemas, or Candlemas. But that's a whole story in and of itself. So Christmas went up until then. So you wouldn't really throw everything away or take your decorations down until then. And there are still some people and some cultures that do that. Hispanic cultures will keep them keep celebrating up until the 2nd of February. But since Vatican II, the calendar was rationalized a bit, or made things slightly more manageable, I suppose. And so Christmas finishes this coming Sunday on what we call the feast of the baptism of the Lord. Okay, the time when Jesus himself presented himself for baptism to John the Baptist in the River Jordan, and he was baptized. And as he was baptized, the clouds broke, and a voice spoke from the clouds saying, "This is my beloved Son. Pay attention to him." It's a lovely feast. But so Christmas concludes this coming Sunday. All right, so I feel justified in eating my Christmas pudding before you today. And so just to give you that kind of sense of orientation. But I think it's a good opportunity for me to talk to you about the baptism of the Lord and to talk about our own baptism and what it means. Because I think in some ways this COVID, and I keep talking about the COVID because we all do, right? This situation that we're living is, I think it, in some ways, we almost at times forget who we are, We forget that that we were created out of love and born out of love, and that God has us in the palm of his hand. And that kind of like identity was given to us at our baptism. We tend to forget that, really. But it's the day when we were named and we were baptized with water and the Holy Spirit. And we were in some ways joined to Christ in a way which could never be taken away or separated. And that's left like an indelible mark on our soul. And whatever we do, it'll always be there. But I think that with everything that's gone on, we've kind of like forgotten who we are, or we forget who we are. And so it's very timely that this coming Sunday we celebrate the feast of the baptism of the Lord, and we remind ourselves once again, who we are, where we come from, and what we're about, especially right now. And I suppose I have to, in some ways, mention, the events of January the 6th here, which disturbed us all and took away our peace in a big way, really. And none of us really has the answer or the reason why to that. We don't understand what's gone on. But I think that the way we see through all of that is that we focus on Jesus and we focus on him. And we remember who we are and the fact that he always does and will care for us. And I suppose the important thing for me, at least, looking at what happened at the Capitol this past week, is to know that, everything fails except Jesus. Everything in our world fails, and it will fail. So we see on the news that, that people are lamenting this is like a, devastating attack on our democracy and our government, and and our political system is failing, and we've all said it, we've all thought it. But I think that we need to have like a reality check, and the Feast of the Baptism reminds us, that everything does fail except Jesus and what we have with Jesus, and so we need to turn to him. And in the office of that I was praying this morning, the reading from Isaiah sort of said, turn to him and be safe. And I think that's a directive for all of us. Because, on January 6th, we didn't feel safe. We felt slightly terrorized. What do we do with that? Well, we turn to him in prayer for our safety. And I think that's, we find interior safety. We can't do much about what's going on in Washington, D.C., except pray, But for our own personal safety, for our own personal sense of health and sense of who we are, we need to turn to him, because Jesus doesn't fail us. We have a tendency, and I think it's not correct, to sometimes make sacred things that are not sacred. So like a democracy is not sacred. It's a political system which is man-made. Now, inspired by God, maybe, but it's not sacred, So we tend to forget sometimes that what God is really about and where God really is. And we sacralize things which are not sacred, And I think this is kind of like a great opportunity for us to stop. Okay, that's horrible what's going on there, and we do have things which are broken, but we're all broken, Every one of us is broken. That's why we need to turn to Jesus to be safe. And the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord reminds us of who we are, who we belong to, and where we are safest, and where we are at our best, In our humanity, we get carried away with our confidence and our ideas and our sense of that, you can beat everything and defend everything and do... Well, the thing is, we can't, We're all broken in some way, and it's only Jesus that can make up for that. And that's why we we belong to him. And that's why people, bring their children, or even why adults come to be baptized, to allow Jesus to put us together. And as I say, I had that thought earlier today about, that we've lost a sense of our identity. And I was thinking that, when you go into any Catholic church, or even into this church, to our worship space here at CHS, what is it that we do when we enter? Normally we would bless ourselves with holy water, right? From the stoop that's there. And the purpose of that stoop with the holy water in it, and we stick our hands in it, is to remind ourselves who we are. That's the sole purpose. That as we come into the church, we remind ourselves that we are baptized in Christ and loved and chosen and called and protected and safe. That's what it's for. However, as you know, as more than I do, when the lockdown came and the regulations came into place because of the plague, the COVID plague, we had to remove all of our holy water receptacles and stoops, and we could no longer do that for fear of transmission of the disease. But so in some ways, those kind of like sacramentals which help us to remind that they've been taken away from us. And that can give us a certain, I think, spiritual or religious amnesia. There are many of you who still come to the celebration of Mass with us here, whether weekday or on Sunday, and you receive Jesus in the Eucharist. And that's kind of like the best way to remind ourselves of who we are. But for those of you who have not been able to come back, or you do not feel safe enough to come back yet, and you're at home and you're kind of watching the celebration of Mass from your room, that helps, I know, but it's not the same, is it? It's not the same as coming into the building, blessing yourself with holy water, greeting the people who are part of your spiritual family, and then coming and being a part of the prayer, and then receiving Jesus in the Eucharist. Do you see what I mean? How it diminishes our experience. I'm really grateful that we can offer the streaming service, and I know that many of you are, but it diminishes our experience of the church, but also diminishes our experience of us, that we are part of a church community and part of God's kingdom. And as I said earlier, that we are chosen and we're blessed and we are safe with him. So do not be surprised if your spiritual life in some way this past 6 or 9 months or so has suffered. Don't be surprised at that. But do continue to make your efforts to reach out to Jesus in your prayer. As Isaiah said again, turn to him and be safe. Turn to him and be safe. And I pray that our nation here, that we all turn to him and find safety. Whatever comes next, we turn to Jesus and we find safety in him. And I guess that's just about what I had to say today. I could keep talking here, but the rest of my Christmas pudding needs to be eaten. It's going cold, and I'm having my coffee. But there's one other thing that I wanted to mention before I go today, and that is that Father George, our founding pastor, who's still with us and we are blessed, his 95th birthday is coming up on the 17th of this month. And I know that all of you would like to wish him a happy birthday. But of course, because of COVID and also because of his own age, it's very difficult for us to do that in the usual way. And I also know that Father George is staying away, from people for everybody's good, So it's difficult. You may want to try and go and see him, but it's hard to see him. So what we've devised here at CHS is we're going to have what's the word I was looking for? A slideshow online, which Maria is going to compile and put together um, with your messages or your greetings of no more than 10 seconds, really, wishing him a happy birthday and whatever you may want to say to him. And you can record that either on your own in the comfort of your home and then sort of send it to Maria via text or via email, and she will include that in the montage. Okay, or this coming weekend at all of the masses for the baptism of the Lord, Maria will be around after the mass, and you can record with her your greeting for Father George. And then what Maria will do is that she will, she will take that slideshow and show Father George, on the day of his birthday, and it'll also then be online for everyone else to enjoy it as well. We can't have cake with him, we can't sing to him, in his presence, but we can actually do something like that. And there'll be an opportunity for you to do that. Also, alternatively, you may wish to send a card or leave the card in the parish office, and that can be delivered directly to him. All of these things, we want to try and make it special for him on his 95th, but to do it in a safe way for everybody. Okay, so that's it. George King's birthday on January the 17th. And for now, I just want to thank you once again for all that you do here and for your support of our parish and for making our Christmas special. I would pick up Jonah, but I'm busy eating. He's actually on the floor here taking a nap. But you are part of a special community here, and it's Jesus who's at the heart of it, and that's who we celebrate at this time. And so I just want to take this opportunity now, because for the last time this year, to say to you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And when I see you next Friday, we'll be in ordinary time, and I'll talk to you more about that then, okay? In the meantime, take care, be safe, be joyful, keep the faith. Cheers.